Hello and welcome to the C3 Pod. It's comics, it's comedy, it's conventions, it's collectibles, it's lots more C's than the three that we started with, but we're okay with it. Good morning. Up in the right-hand corner there, we have Mr. Brett Lawson. Brett, how you doing on this fine Monday? We usually record on Wednesdays, but it is a Monday today. How you doing?
Yeah, man, an eventful Monday at that for us. Obviously, it was a busy weekend. Busy weekend for all of us. That's why our buddy Steve is so much in the aftermath of it still. He hasn't really, the dust hasn't settled for him. It's settled for us. But good, man, it's a huge sports weekend with NFL free agency, the World Baseball Classic. I know we're getting more and more excited for opening day. But obviously on the front of the C3 side of thing, or on the front of the C3, we have plenty to talk about on that. In that realm as well. So every time I get to run a show from Brent, I get that much more excited. So we'll have a good one for you today nonetheless, even if it's on a Monday and not a Wednesday.
Nice. And Paul Vato, who did not show up over the weekend like he promised to. How you doing, Paul?
I got things going on in Chicago. I got to hold down the C3 adventures out here. So, yeah, otherwise I would have loved to have been there. Did I miss anything?
I love like it's actually after the event. So we have to break the fourth wall a little bit here because everybody's going to be tied up. 60% of the show is going to be over at Diecast Supercon. We're actually recording this a few days early. So Diecast Supercon has not happened yet, but I can tell you that Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips did cancel. He had conflicting schedules, so he's no longer on the schedule. But still, for this weekend upcoming and on the next episode, we'll be able to update you. We have like 6 of the main guys from the Mayans. We've got the dudes from Fast and Furious that we get to see frequently. I love seeing Noel and Chad at these things. Johnny's going to be there. We're going to pick him up on the VIP tour. It's just lots of fun stuff that we're looking forward to. Erik, are you coming to Diecast Supercon, babe?
I am not. I've got a lot of stuff to do before I leave the country for a nice little holiday trip at the beginning of April. So
our favorite globe-trotting producer.
The thing that's great about this is when Erik goes out of town, I am the acting editor-in-chief of Comic-Con.com. So when he comes back, things could be just a complete shakeup while he's gone, and he's going to have to fix so many things because I get annoyed very easily. I have zero patience for people, and so I will make policy while you're gone, sir. I promise.
Well, Brennan, it's classic pro wrestling, right? His entrance music hits after a few months. You have a championship belt. He comes back with his championship belt, and you end Monday Night Raw both holding him up. Everyone's cheering and just setting up the next pay-per-view in classic, fake sports fashion or scripted sports fashion.
So basically, Brendan, you're apologizing ahead of time for how the show's going to look because you're doing the editing, or what's?
It's a disclaimer.
No, he's apologizing for the state the site's going to be in when I get back.
It's a disclaimer.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of chaos in the group Slack when Erik returns from Paris.
Oh my God! No. Here's the thing, though. It's because I don't leave my computer behind whenever I go anywhere because there's 2 or 3 things that I still will have to do no matter where I am.
Right.
And that Slack does get crazy whenever I leave town.
There's like some serious like Cold War issues between some of the staff, and it really comes to a head when Erik's not there to temper it.
Infighting. Political infighting. I love it.
It's funny because there's a couple of writers and there's a little bit of tension sometimes on editorial and stuff like that. And it's funny because Erik is usually the calming force,
right?
That kind of like lays it out for everybody. Look, nobody gets what they want. Everybody gets a little bit of what they want, and you guys are going to shut up about it now. And we're going to move on.
Voice of reason. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah. So
he's like that on this podcast.
Non-zero chance that I'll still be in the Slack while I'm away, and
you should just delete it from your phone until you get back. That's the best course of action.
You would think, right? But like I
grid.
said, there are 2 or 3 things that I have to do no matter what.
I know there are writers when they go into their Stephen King writer's cave in, misery, whatever, that completely delete all their apps off their phone and then they reinstall them when they get out because they don't want to be distracted by anything, by Twitter, by Blue Sky, whatever. Yeah. What else was I going to say? There was something else.
Now that you've broken the kayfabe, we can admit that it's Time Change Monday because I am feeling Time Change Monday. Oh my God. I don't think I've felt it this acutely in a very long time.
For me, like there was something about the eating dinner when it was light out that usually is fine for me the first day, that yesterday was very unsettling. It really was. Like normally it's okay with me. Maybe it's because I normally will eat dinner later, so it's already dark out, so I don't care. But since I ate dinner pretty much at 6:00 sharp last night, it was very, very weird. It was.
So if I'm being completely honest, like this is regular time for me. So when it goes into daylight savings, or are we on daylight savings? I don't know. Is it standard time or daylight savings?
We're now on daylight. Yes, this is now daylight.
Yeah.
Daylight savings is what resonates with my circadian rhythms, whatever. So I will wake up at 4 a.m. to leave the house by 4:20, to be at the gym by 4:30, 4:40, to start stretching, to start working out at 5, even when it is standard time. And so at that time, I'm awake at 3. So then I'm doom scrolling for an hour before it's time to get ready. So this is like my standard time. And then the other time, I'm just up earlier than everybody else.
No, I get it. And it's one
I might argue that 4 o'clock is earlier than anyone else anyway, but
right.
Way earlier.
And it's one of those things where the one thing I do like about it is that it's kind of like it starts off from, it's not as bad as when you set the clocks back, because that's more of like a weird rip the Band-Aid when it's dark at like, fourth quarter to 5, and next thing you know, it's 4:30. But I will say the one thing I hate is that when you get later in the year, closer to the solstice, and it's light out at 8. So the one thing I do like, I'm not even trying to nitpick, the one thing I do like is when we enter the daylight saving times and spring them forward, I do like that automatically we kind of get that perfect sunrise 10 to 7 and, sunset a little bit after 7. And I think that's like the perfect parameter, because once you get closer to June, the days just get longer. And when you're out in Vegas, that means, a lot of heat.
One of the things I don't like about standard time is that the LED lights that are all around my truck don't show up when I'm headed to the gym. So I don't get that UFO glow. So now I'm driving in this morning. It is pitch black when I leave my house, and I could do all the color schemes and stuff until I get there. And then I sit and park for a minute because the instructor for the day or whatever, I'm usually there 2 or 3 minutes before they are. I don't know why I'm always early to stuff, but I am.
He's a timely man.
What upset me the most, really, and you guys obviously know I hold very dear and sacred traditions, So I literally now for 2 days in a row, I've slept right through my siesta. And I hate that, just never woke up. Just woke up and I was like, damn it, I missed my siesta. So, yeah, I mean, that's what change does for me.
There was a thing several years ago, and I haven't been able to find it since, but it was the Toddler Council was on Twitter, and they had all these funny things of like from a toddler's perspective, and it makes perfect sense from a 3-year-old's perspective or whatever. But it's like, the Toddler Council does not recognize daylight saving time, because when your kid is used to waking up at a certain time, they wake up at that time. They get up, they empty their bladders, they do the thing, and then they want to like be on you with their cold ass feet.
I actually also did the same thing. Never got out of bed. Emptied my bladder. Did everything.
Oh, right in the bed. Nice.
So
speaking of Paul's empty bladder, I noticed something disturbing at Walmart today that we have talked about over and over and over again and ad nauseum. I've talked to Johnny about this. We've talked to Steve about this, and actually I sent a text to Johnny. I was like, dude, what is going on? For over 50 years, Hot Wheels line, the mainline cars, have been $1. For over 50 years, that you can go to the store with $5 and change and get 5 cars, right? No matter what state you're in, whatever, every time you go to Walmart, and every time you go to Target, wherever it is, the main line is always $1. Today, I was looking at some Hot Wheels cars and something caught my eye. Go ahead and throw up that image, Erik. Hot Wheels have gone up 24% in the last couple of weeks. This is the new price point for mainline cars. It's no longer $1, it's $1.24. That means that for $5 and change, you used to be able to get 5 cars, right? Now for $6 and change, you can only get 4 cars. So for the kids who have always been able to get $1 and change and go in and get a car, now it's $1.25 plus change to go in and get a car. And this hits hard. The premium cars went up from $6.50 to $7.50 or $7.75 to $8.40. Sets and haulers have gone up almost $7. They were $13. Now they're $20. And Mattel is citing new tariffs on Chinese-made products. They're diversifying their manufacturing, but the immediate tariffs are impacting consumer prices. And I got to tell you that once they make that jump and people accept it, it's never going back.
No, amen to that. And it's kind of like once you cross that line, you can't go back. And once the game has changed, it's forever altered, even if you deviate your approach and somehow alter the course again, you can never go back to what it once was. And again, there's just something magical about being able to go in with a $5 bill and get 5 cars, or, go with a $1 bill and get 1 car. And there was something about it, that on the dot market pricing, that's always been kind of an appeal in all aspects of American culture and society that we look back on, especially with nostalgia. But like everything else, it changes, and usually not always. I should say often not always for the better. Yeah.
Nice. So, Paul, I know that you claim to be a child of the 80s, but no matter what decade you were born in, realistically, it's always been $1. How do you feel about this?
I mean, well, tariffs. I blame Obama. No, I'm just kidding. It was bound to happen. And to be honest with you, I'd forgotten that it was $1. Because when I recently kind of got back into it, and I went to our local farm and fleet, which is where we farmers and gentlemen farmers go, they were already $1.24 or $1.25, and this. And I thought, I was ecstatic. I was like, oh my God, what a great deal. So for me, it doesn't bother me, but you're 100% right. Once it goes to a certain price point, it's not going back. Same with fuel or anything like that. When I sold businesses back in the late 1900s, and we would sell a lot of gas stations, and I learned this little trick that if in the future, like, hey, we just got this shipment of fuel, so we're going to have to increase the price once we start using that fuel. Rest assured, if there was a price increase, it happened today on the old stock, and they would bring it up. And rest assured, it never went, we got this shipment for less. Then we could lower the price. But they were all in it together, even though there were different companies, competitors. But, they would just raise it ahead of time and then just leave it that way until the next fuel shipment. So this is, I think, the same way. Once it's up, and now people are going to be used to paying $1.24, which, I mean, I think at twice the price, it's a good deal.
No, it is. It is. But,
and then the grand
when it hits the kids, so fuel prices are up and down all over the place. Like on the corner over here, the AM PM, we pay a 50-cent ATM fee, which when you're doing 22 gallons, it's a increment. It's very, very small to get the cash price. And it'll go anywhere from $3.69 to almost $5 any given day. But when it hits the kids, when you're looking at a car that a kid legitimately could go in with $1.07, and that's what it is in California, 99 cents or $1 rounds up to 107, 108. When you can go in for $1.08 and now it's $1.30, that's a big deal when you're talking about allowance for kids, when you're talking about, just being able to be like, yeah, it's $1. That's the thing, is the mentality is it's always $1. So your kid can always get a Hot Wheel because what's $1 going to cost you? But now you got to think about a little bit more because you got 4 kids. Now it's $6 instead of 4,
Hey, you're saving money because if their parents are anything like my mom, she wouldn't just buy one thing for one kid. So if you've got 4 kids, this works out. You get 4 cars for $5 instead of having to buy 5 or 6 cars, or say 8 cars.
Wait, you're trying to argue that a better value is worse? That doesn't make any damn sense, Paul.
For the parent, because now.
Vato
I'm paying the same amount of money and I'm getting half as many cars. This is a good thing.
Right.
I'm practicing in case I ever get anyone pregnant and have kids.
There you go. Paul's getting into dad mode. All right.
Okay.
Good
on.
Pivot. Good point of pivot.
Nice. So coming up in the second segment, we're going to talk about a new He-Man deluxe action figure toy. It's samurai inspired. It's from the Marvel's Universe 200X cartoon collection. It's a really cool little figure. So we're going to be talking about that. But right now we're going to go ahead and hear a word from our favorite sponsor. That's me. That's Comic-Con. That's Erik down there. So let's go ahead and roll that and we'll see you on the other side.
Peppermint Patty's the worst.
Patty's the worst. Comic-Con.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comic-Con.com.
Welcome back. All right, so if you're not subscribed to our Patreon, you missed a whole big thing about why Peppermint Patty is indeed the worst, as our executive producer, Mr. Erik Amaya, says in that commercial every single time we air it. She really is. You won't find out why. You're going to have to go to Patreon. You can subscribe for as little as $5 a month, or to get our bonus, you can get each of the bonus recordings for $3. So if you just want to find out about Peppermint Patty, $3. Want to hear about all the nonsense we talk about in between, and Paul Vato getting unnecessarily revolting every single time, then go ahead and subscribe. Hit that $5 button. It really does make a difference. It costs money to put these things on. It costs money to keep it. It costs money. It costs money. So every little bit helps. I really appreciate that. So,
Brendan, I think you're underwater.
Am I underwater?
Yeah, I was going to say, is that me? Me? I was waiting for someone else to say something.
It totally sounds like you're underwater.
Is that better?
That's much
Yeah.
better.
Into the
emerged.
You had me turn my gain so far down the last time we recorded that was the result.
He's emerged from his subterranean depths.
It was ungainly.
So do I have to say all that again?
Yeah.
Here, I'll put the banner back up. You can do the short version.
There we go.
Brendan Allen's the worst.
What? I don't even remember what I said. Didn't we talk about this? Okay, let's see.
Patreon segment. Join the Patreon to hear the good Patreon.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're back. Welcome back. If you want to hear why Peppermint Patty is in fact the worst, go ahead and go to the Patreon. Subscribe for $5 a month, and you'll get all the bonus episodes. Or you can get each bonus episode for $3, I think it is. But anyway, yeah, Peppermint Patty, she's a terrible, terrible character, but we might have figured out what the root of that is too. So there's a lot of discourse that happens between takes here that you want to be in on for sure. Anyway, moving on, we're going to talk about some figures right now, or a figure. This is the Masters of the Universe Origins 200X Cartoon Collection Samurai He-Man Deluxe Action Figure Toy. I think they could have made that title a lot longer, but this is a 5.5 inch figure. It's $22. It's inspired by the well-loved MOTU 200X action figure line, inspired by the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. They're just making me say a lot of words. He-Man's and the Masters of the Universe TV
This is
series.
Lebowski stuff. Like if you're not into the whole brevity type of thing, that's what they're pushing.
This is from the one episode is called The Mystery of Anwat Gar, which sounds very, very exotic. It's a reimagined version of He-Man from the vintage toy line from 2002. Retro style, but modern posability. As a deluxe figure, he's larger than the usual 5.5. Well, they said it was 5.5. Okay. They said it's 5.5 inches, but now they're saying larger than 5.5. So it might be a fraction larger.
He has lips on his shoes. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Definitely.
Yeah. I wonder what those are for. Like what it says, with extensive armor, the most powerful samurai in the universe with power sword looks ready to fight his way out of the deluxe package and comes with a collector card as well. The armor is removable, and this is suitable for MOTU fans that are 6 and up. So there's a couple of extra pictures on here. He does come with a helmet that is removable. I think that's kind of new for the He-Man line. The swords and stuff have always been whatever, but the helmets you can't take off. They're like molded on. So this is a different thing that they're going with here. And then there he is, sans helmet, but from the other angle. So you can see the detail on the shin pads and the loincloth and stuff. Paul, you got something to say? You're making a motion.
No, I was just...
And bat on the shoulder once again. Paul, no, I'm just kidding.
I was just scratching.
I'll just expect. So when Steve is here and there's 5 heads, like there's so much conversation happening or whatever that he just expects he's going to get overlooked to the point where when he can talk, he doesn't. So
yeah.
Right, and here we go.
Sorry, I was scratching.
So here's a white light, version of it that shows, just what the actual paint colors are. So the other ones are kind of stylized. You can tell they did the lighting different or whatever. But, it's a good looking figure. It looks like the points of articulation are a little bit different. They still got the bockets in the hips, which are the classic. But it looks like you're able to turn the wrists on this, and the elbow has got a 3-part joint, which makes for easier posing and things like that. And it looks like the shoulders might be bockets as well. But I don't remember that the He-Man figures, the classics, had articulated ankles, and it looks like this one does as well. So it's posable. It's kind of throwback. It goes back to 2002. But I think it's a really cool look, because when people sit there and go, oh, that's not the classic He-Man, it's like, well, yes, it is, because here's one of the episodes or whatever. He's got different hair. He's wearing different armor. This is a very different look than what we're used to.
Also, I have to admit, in that press release referring to the 2000X series as classic, man, does that make me feel like I've turned to dust.
Really, though.
To me, classic He-Man is, 1984 He-Man
exactly.
of the Universe. The 2000X series is not classic.
Well, it's like
to a generation it is, which
it's
is
like
terrifying.
100%. It's like what we talk about with TMNT, right? Because like for some kids, like the classic, what we deem the classic to them is like archaeological. It's ancient, right? Because their classic is to us what we deem something that was far more modern, something far more, basically later in the timeline, even if at this point in time, that was already 10, 15 years ago. But for those kids, that's the nostalgia. That's what they root in, the classic element, the classic feel, where we view it as like the quote unquote postmodern TMNT, I guess you could say.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah. And especially with Masters of the Universe, it's funny how that 2000X series is just way more sophisticated, way better written than the 80s show. because I remember when Four Horsemen first got the license, like in the early part of the 2000s. You know, they brought basically their display of all their prototypes to San Diego Comic-Con. My friend and I were kind of excited about this, and they had this running reel of ads for the old 80s toys. And there was just the slow dawning horror of how poorly produced those ads were, but that we ate the whole thing up. We're just like, man, we were that stupid.
Were you that stupid or that excited?
Gullible.
We were that gullible.
Yeah.
Because
naive.
And then they showed an episode of the old show, and just like, I never wanted to believe that the show was a 30-minute ad, but the show is in fact a 30-minute ad.
Well, you know where the like, and now you know, knowing is half the battle, and now you know thing came from?
G.I.
Anybody?
Joe?
Well, yeah, it comes from G.I. Joe, but it was the fact that it is a 30-minute ad for
Right. That's the educational
toy.
content to offset.
And so they had to add some part of educational content to get around the FCC rule that they couldn't just be selling toys for 30 minutes. And so it's stuff like, you know, hold an adult's hand across the street, and now you know. And that's the thing that validated the previous 29 and a half minutes of buy this toy.
Who made the body massage? Did you guys ever see those?
Yeah, I remember. I should have the name of that guy in my head, but I don't.
Are you talking about Vince? What's his name? Vince Offer?
No. That's ShamWow. No, this is the. Have you ever seen these? They're remixed G.I. Joe PSAs. They've just dubbed over the actual content with some crazy bit of business. And
You're about to send me down a rabbit hole on my
right. Now I'm on.
Yeah, Joe body massage.
Yeah, Roadblock shows up to help a couple kids. You know, because they found a down power line, and all he says is, "Who wants a body massage?"
That's so creepy.
On the computer, I think it was another one. Let me ask you this. I guess maybe a technical question. What's on the bottom of his shoe or footwear? Was that the character, or is it
looks like
this
high
so
jump
he
boots.
stands?
It's either like a rock climbing thing or a jumping assist. It doesn't look like an ice skate because it's not a blade. I don't know what the plot of this particular episode is. I just liked that they took this common character. And if you notice, like his chest piece, that medallion in the middle usually has an iron cross on it. And now this is some kind of teethy mouth or something. I don't know what that's supposed to represent, or a sunburst. But they kind of reimagined the character for this episode where he was taken to a different dimension or whatever. It's kind of like Planet Hulk. And he had to fight in a samurai, whatever. And you look at the Sword of Power and how it's got that Asian inspired hilt on it instead of the normal. So I don't know what those things are supposed to be. Now I feel like I got to watch the episode or something.
Right. Get more
What's
context.
it called? The Mystery of Anwar Gar. Let's see if I can get any information without watching. See if somebody has put up a...
While Brennan gets that information, here's some information for you guys brought to us by our friends over at Hobby Lava, who always bring us our second segment every week on the pod. And of course, they master in feature collections, much like we do right here on the pod, which is what makes that relationship so perfect with them. And they have some awesome exclusive stuff you can get in on. And if you're tired of generic packs filled with base cards, they're exactly what you're looking for, creating premium branded trading card mystery packs guaranteed to deliver the thrill, featuring Pokemon, Disney, Bo Jackson's Ballerina, and Labubu. Their mission, to experience the heat, not the burn. They guarantee quality and a truly fun, rewarding opening experience. All kinds of drip packs and exclusive product. Go check them out, our friends over at Hobby Lava. We're so thrilled to be sponsored or be partnered with them and for them to sponsor our second segment, as always.
The synopsis of this episode makes no damn sense. So the sorceress tells Prince Adam and Man-at-Arms about a vision she had where Skeletor rises from the ocean of Gnarl and takes over eternity. She fears he may try to obtain the Legacy Stones, ancient artifacts of great power hidden on the island by Anwar Gar. Upon hearing this, Adam transforms he and Man-at-Arms to travel to the island. While traveling there, a huge wave knocks Man-at-Arms off his vehicle and He-Man saves him. When they get to the island, a mysterious person is watching from afar. As they look for the stones, they enter a hall with stone soldiers with huge shields lining the walls. Upon walking further, He-Man steps on a pressure switch, causing all the stone soldiers to be thrust into the middle, crushing anything between them. He-Man and Man-at-Arms escape and eventually arrive to a building that looks like a Japanese temple. Once they're there, they're again attacked by the statues. He-Man defeats one by throwing his sword at the statue and then kicking it through its chest. Man-at-Arms just uses his blaster to turn statues to rubble. The mysterious person now makes his presence known by creating a twister to land himself in front of the building, introduces himself as Cyclone, Syclone, and states that he's there to protect the stones. He-Man tries to explain about Skeletor, but Cyclone won't hear any of it and starts hurling discs at them. He-Man eventually puts an end to that, so Cyclone uses his hands to create mini cyclones. Okay, there's his name. But is stopped when He-Man punches him. Cool. He-Man warns him to stop, but Cyclone rotates his upper body to create another twister and is again stopped by He-Man. The battle ends when Skeletor and Beastman announce that they have the stones, and Skeletor proceeds to use them to get the invincible legacy armor. Roll credits.
I am inevitable, He-Man.
So once again, he's not able to use his sword as a sword. He's able to hit rocks with it, but then he has to punch his way out when he could cut people down because you couldn't have blood and cutting things on a show.
Next time I watch Infinity War, once it gets to that point, that's going to randomly like pop into my my subconscious memory. I'm just going to start cracking up because I'm going to hear Erik instead of Josh Brolin. That is all.
I love the new meme.
Instead of Thor, I'm going to imagine He-Man.
The new Skeletor awesome, memes are hilarious, where he comes in and tells you something super, super disturbing, and then runs away. And he's like, "Until next time."
And then dip. He's like, "Skeletor crushes your childhood hopes and dreams." Absolutely. No, it's funny though, because as Brendan said, as Brendan gave that whole synopsis, it's like, as interesting as it seemed in twists and turns, we still have no true clarification, even though Paul wanted the clarification. Now Paul's dipped out, but we have no true clarification of what's up with the platformers. So,
and it's weird because it sounds like the episode is really the debut of 2000X Cyclone. It's not actually about this armor at all. Like that's crazy.
Right.
I'm sticking with my thought that these are high jump boots, like in the Super Mario
or I think because
get vertical, baby.
They talk about the terrain and it's stone islands, and they're fighting stone warriors. I think these might be like climbing boots, specialized climbing boots for the rocks.
It is possible,
right? Sometimes it has to be a function
now.
Right. Just to explain the function.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could not get into this series, and maybe it was just the wrong time.
Right. But maybe had the ship sailed for you for Masters of the Universe at that point?
I mean, kind of.
Right.
Let's see, when was I done? I guess the movie would have been the last thing I cared about, because I did have the Blade action figure from the movie.
And it's funny. No, go ahead.
And after that, it just sort of naturally petered out.
100%. It lost steam. It kind of limped to the finish, kind of went under the radar, and now it's not necessarily having a renaissance, but it's so much to the point where it's a nostalgia item to where now it's kind of worked its way back into the conversation enough to where it does warrant the production of a new movie. We've discussed it on the pod. We even played the trailer while giving our own little commentary over it. We're not totally sure how that movie's going to end up, even though it looks ambitious. And I think it's interesting that, we're discussing something like this, which is very specific to a certain point in the He-Man timeline, where now we get that new tentpole in the He-Man timeline in the immediate horizon.
Well, and everybody's got their version of Thundercats, right? Right. And so when the new Thundercats came out, people were losing their minds because they went more with the, what's the new show that's got the frog people that they get transported? Amphibia? Right, and it's got more of an amphibia, or the one where the kids go and live with their uncle at a mystery spot in the woods, and all this crazy Gravity Falls, right? So it's more of that style of animation where things don't quite make sense and everything's kind of cartoony or whatever. And all these people my age are losing their minds, and it's do you think they're probably making this for an 8-year-old and not a 47-year-old? I'm just
right, and that's what's so funny. Because you could see that, in certain animations, whether it's adult animation, teenage animation, for kids, for preschoolers, toddlers. It's just because it's animation doesn't mean it's all supposed to be lumped together in for the same target audience, for the same demographic. That is absolutely ridiculous. It always has been that way. And I feel like most people who are at least privy to this stuff like we are aware of that, but apparently a lot of people aren't cognizant at all.
Yeah. So there's those memes, those Skeletor memes. It's the one where he's reclined and he's saying something all snarky, and then he runs away and it says, "Until we meet again," right? This one that I just came up with reminded me a lot of Paul Vato. And it says, "Your ass can produce all 4 states of matter until we meet again."
Zoom.
Wait, what's the 4th state? It's solid liquid gas, isn't it? What's the 4th one?
Plasma.
But it's true though, right? Like, I mean, it's a legitimate fact, but it's like it's just presented in a slightly disturbing way. This is very Skeletor. Yeah,
right.
I think he's for it.
With the old
brand
Skeletor design too, right? With the yellow skull face.
Yeah, here. I mean, I can. Let's see if I can send the picture right now. My computer, upload file. Man, this is a lot of work. Why is this so difficult? Why can't I just drop it? No items match my search. Well, shoot.
It's this is just going to show what a wizard Erik is.
Yeah, I can't wait until the show when Erik's not around to see how.
I don't think we're recording while Erik's gone. I thought, wasn't that the deal?
Yeah, it's hiatus.
But here,
we'll be on
Skeletor.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely here. I'll put it in the messenger. Let's see where we at. C3. It's funny. Like, people don't even realize how technologically unsound I am.
Oh, I'm the same way.
Because
I just want to show up and talk. Like,
I work for a website, but you can ask Erik how many times in a week I'm like, dude, I have no idea what's going on with WordPress. I did my best.
Yeah, exactly.
And our WordPress implementation is haunted too. So.
Oh yeah, and this magic box is run by witches, and it is definitely haunted.
The occult.
There you go. It's in the messenger.
Oh, here we go. But no, like, definitely, like, it's one of those things where I'm with you, Brennan. Let me just show up. Where do you need me? What do you need me to talk about? How do you want to present it? And other than that, let's go.
Here's another one.
Don't maybe do anything
so same image
based.
Same image, but with a different. So this is, I mean, it's obviously on a meme generator, but says, it's him laying down. It says, you pass the anniversary of your own death every single year without knowing it until we meet again.
Life, introspect in life with Skeletor.
Yeah,
the little like beautiful, harp playing in the background.
When a pregnant woman goes swimming, she is a human submarine. This reminds me of Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was even going for. Like, same type of thing.
There is no physical evidence that today is in fact Monday. We just have to trust the one person that kept count since then. Right at the beginning of the current calendar.
That one's almost enlightening or like motivational. If you're having like a really shitty Monday, it's all like, well, that's going to get me through today because it may not even be Monday when it's all said and done.
The only part of your reflection that you can lick is your tongue.
Thanks, Skeletor.
Thank you, Skeletor.
Your brain,
I'm imagining, he's right.
Your own brain doesn't know it exists until you learn about it in school.
Mm-hmm. That I've heard something similar to in like some kind of crazy Facebook think piece. I think, yeah.
These are getting closer and closer to Zen Cohen's, and I don't know
right.
if I like that.
Right, I'm getting uncomfortable here.
All right, let's play a game.
I'm unsettled.
So I'm going to read a quote right now, and I want you to tell me if it's Skeletor or Jack Handy.
Should we save that for the Patreon? While you do it?
Yeah, let's do it on the Patreon. Hang on. I'm going to pull these up side by side.
That's a perfect wrap segment 2. Again, brought to you by Hobby Lobby, our friends over there. Go check them out. Awesome stuff, awesome exclusives, and plenty of deals and packs. So go check them out. And again, we have plenty to come on the Patreon. And at this point, I'm hijacking Brendan's segue to the break. So Brendan, go ahead.
No, that was perfect. I don't need to say anything.
Yeah. Should have said anything. Then should have kept it going. All right.
Yeah.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comic-Con.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews, previews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comic-Con.com.
Dude, after we finished that whole thing, I just found another one that I'm not going to read on the main show. We'll save it for something else. Anyway, welcome back in. This is the third segment. The third segment, I know our sponsor is the Nerd Bar in Indianapolis. Go ahead and see Johnny Borchata up in the Nerd Bar. He's a huge wrestling nerd. There's all kinds of wrestling memorabilia there. He's got Cactus Jack stuff. He's got stuff from, who is it? Sin Cara is Penta.
Mystico.
No.
Sin Cara is, well, Sin
Miedo.
Cara. Yeah.
Cero Miedo.
Yeah. Sin Cara was Mystico.
RVD and a bunch of stuff there. They also have the micro wrestling up. They've got a ring set up, and it's a pretty cool show to go see. And of course, they've got the Friends couch. The couch from Friends belongs to Johnny, and I still haven't convinced him. Although I'm going to be in Vegas this weekend, and I'm taking this ET in. I'm going to try and use this as a bargaining chip to get my hands on the couch from Friends. We'll see how that goes. It probably is not going to go in my favor, but I am going to try.
Noble effort.
Yeah, no, they've
Noble
got bowling. Effort. They've got an actual ring from UFC, and I've never seen anybody in the ring, but I wonder there might be a waiver or something like that. And when you talk about the bull, Paul Vato really wants to tell you about his ride on the bull at the Nerd Bar.
Well, it's not so much a bull as a big pink.
It is massive. So I'm going to tell a story about Diecast Supercon from last year. So people come in from all over the world and all over the country to exhibit and to be part of and to guest and whatever. But there are volunteers that come in from places like Utah. And I had no idea that this guy who's been following Steve around, and I mean, just a fantastic guy. And I wish I could think of the guy's name, but he was really, really Johnny on the spot. I was like, man, I really could use this thing. And before I even finished saying the thing, he had been off and found it and brought it to me, whatever. He was just fantastic. I'm going to get his name this weekend and we'll say it on the next show. But this guy comes in and he goes to a bar with us. So we're at the bar and I'm like, hey, you should go and ask them to uncover the bull and ride the bull. Because at this point in the night, the thing is covered with a massive drape. So they uncover the bull and it is a massive phallus. It is huge. It's got veins on it. It's got a saddle on it. That's the bull at the Nerd Bar. And this guy kind of looks at me and looks at that and he goes, no, I don't think I will. And then I noticed the dude wasn't drinking. And so I asked him, I was like, dude, so you don't drink? And he's like, no, I'm Latter-day Saint. I'm from Utah. And I'm like, you came to a bar with us? It's like, yeah, I want to hang out with my friends. So I was saying the most wild, inappropriate stuff to this guy all night long. And he said not one word to me about it. And then at that moment, I was like, man, I am so sorry. Like, I'm going to go ahead and temper this and, like dial back my language and stuff. He's like, no, it's good. I'm used to it. But it was just one of those things where it's like, yeah, go ride the giant penis. And then I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. That was so inappropriate.
Question.
Yes, sir.
I would have loved to have seen him do that. But where is the friend's couch? Is it the couch that we always sit on, or
the couch in the back? So Johnny's little girl has her own little spot over there where there's the unicorns and stuff. The UFC cage. You know where the UFC cage is?
No.
Okay. Well, you need to walk around the bar instead of just going to the one spot that we always sit.
I've been to two places.
This post.
Couches that we sit on.
All right. So the couches that we sit on are on the right, and then if you go back further than that, on the right is the Micromania ring. And then if you're looking straight ahead is the bowl. To the left of that is the bowling alley, right? Yeah. And the very right lanes of the bowling alley have the UFC cage on it. And then directly across from that, it's kind of like fenced off, privacy screened off from the rest of the bar, is the friend's couch.
I had no idea. I've looked at the.
Well, then if you go downstairs a little bit, there's a whole arcade there. It really is a great place for entertainment because it's good people, it's a good atmosphere, it's in a great location. There's a restaurant upstairs, Alabrijes. Downstairs is the Toy Shack. There's a bunch of other businesses there. And it's right at the end of Fremont Street. It really is in a great location. And Johnny makes it fun. He is a collector, obviously, of wrestling stuff and just funny stuff. Like he's got a UFC ring. It's a real UFC ring. I don't know what event it's from, but there's a lot of really fun stuff there. So,
and just to clarify, the micro or, where they wrestle, they've called it Mini Square Garden.
Micro Square Garden.
Square Garden, which
is an homage to Madison Square Garden, which is where most of the early big name pay-per-views and boxing matches and stuff in the United States were taking place. So it's an homage to
most famous arena in the world.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's MSG. Little. Yeah. It's little MSG.
It's little MSG. That's great.
Micro Square Garden. Awesome. I love witty names or punny names.
It's perfect, especially in Vegas, yo. Like Vegas is so clever. That's one thing I'll always pat the Vegas on the back for, in terms of like Johnny, in terms of Steve, in terms of everybody. Like they know how to. No matter what the genre, the niche is. People who are in Vegas know how to bring you in by that one little hook, by that one little, one liner, one little branding.
They're great at writing trends too. There was a pop-up, down below the strip, like on one of the sides of the strip, there was a go down, and it was a Stranger Things pop-up that had a bunch of merch and stuff. But they were able to set up picture op scenes where like there's a bicycle that looks like it's going into where, the big demon thing in the air or whatever is. And there's like these photo ops and stuff. And there was the living room with the lights up. That was my banner on Facebook. It probably still is. It's me sitting there with Deb, my youngest, on that couch in front of all the lights and stuff. And they had a Demogorgon and things like that. But they were just selling T-shirts. And that's the thing, is they're riding the trend. They're making it a cool spot where people want to go and take pictures. And then when you're down there, you're like, well, I definitely want that shirt. I want that backpack. Like
right. They hook you in.
I had my hook for Vato cigars was an all-you-can-smoke cigar buffet. because it's Vegas. Who doesn't like a buffet type of a thing? And it's
but who can smoke more than maybe 2 without just completely puking their guts inside out?
I was going to say.
Brendan was not my PR guy. Yeah, and people loved it. You'd have to. You couldn't smoke enough because these were the cigars that I had made, so the cost on them was low. And for $35, you could, all you can smoke all day. And the record I think was 7 or 8, 7. And he was pretty messed up. We had to send him over to the restaurant so he could have some ribs. But yeah, there's always a hook. The all you can smoke cigar buffet flowers.
Soak it up.
He said, "Put him on the street. He's somebody else's problem." Just as long as he's no longer in my establishment.
He's out of our hair.
That's so
bad. Smoked a bunch of cigars.
We love you. You've got money. Welcome. Come on in. I'm sorry. What? You're out of money? Get out.
Peace.
So
and there's really actually not very many places in Vegas where if you don't have money, you're still cool. I like going to the shops at like the Venetian and what is it? It's Paris and the Venetian or whatever that have the interconnected with the canal and stuff like that.
The Venetian's the canal. The Venetian's the canal shops, and then Caesars are the forum shops.
Right, but they're all like together. Like you can walk and just walk and walk and walk. And I'm looking at art pieces that there's no way in hell I could ever afford. But it's almost like going to a museum because you're seeing these amazing original works of art from artists that you know. And there's originals of Dr. Seuss and all kinds of crazy stuff there. So like, I mean, you can do it for free, but it does remind you just how poor you are.
Right. And even the exhibits that are essentially for free in Vegas, you look around you and you're like, that's so fun. And then once you're done with it, you see something that's trying to get money out of you. But you're like, but I don't want to go home. Right. You're like, that's the whole idea. It's like they never want you to go home. They want you to go from one thing to the other. And that's why it's still Disneyland for adults. Very much is.
It's funny because I'm also trying to like run site stuff. Mm-hmm. While this is going on, I've got like everybody hitting me all at once right now.
That's why I said comics, even though that essentially we need you for the solicit, but it's all good.
It's funny though, because Erik and I also discussed before we started the show how like we're not really allowed to take days off. So sometimes like we'll get a message on a Saturday and we don't respond right away because we're not looking at Slack or whatever. Because hey, I get to have a day off, right?
And it's the same thing with my buddy, because me on the sports casting side of things, I don't so much have to worry about that. But if I have a lot of buddies who are doing a lot of digital content, editing, social media, who essentially, as long as they have a phone or a tablet in front of them, they can be on the clock. Not to say they can't go off and live their own personal lives. But my buddy, who I do a lot of sports media stuff with, does very much lives his life by the same beat, right? By the same speed, to where you're kind of always on because you're in charge of all this. You're at the helm of all this. A lot of times you have a whole team underneath you. And if they need something, even if it's not you doing it, you do need to green light it. So you guys always kind of have your radar on.
On the inverse of that, I've told people multiple times, like I might send an email at 3 a.m. I'm not expecting a response by 3:15.
Right.
And I actually, Barbara, who we know from Fanbase Press, has that in her email. Like I often send emails in off hours. I don't expect a response right away. Please go back to sleep.
It's like, it's all good. I'm just getting it out there because I'm awake and about to go work out. You guys could go,
well,
I push it off a little bit.
Steve, I do intentionally bother at 4 a.m. because he's made a point that he doesn't like that. So now I have to push that button.
And it's a good bit for the show. In fact, it's a great bit for the show.
Nice. All right, so comics for this week. It's a DC heavy week, and we haven't had one of those in a while, so I leaned into it. The first one up is Nightwing number 136. This one's got a first appearance of the Witch of Bloodhaven. It says, a new era begins here for Bloodhaven and its hero. The city's new superhighway was meant to be its lifeline, but instead has become a hotbed of strange and violent incidents. Nightwing's investigation into this haunted road drives him toward a tragedy from which he may never recover and sends him looking for answers in Bloodhaven's tragic past. Superstar artist Dennis Cowan joins ongoing writer Dan Waters for a supernatural noir tale of urban folklore in a city where the unavenged dead will stay silent no longer.
Seems awesome. It seems right up the Nightwing fan base's alley. And I love it because, like Brendan said, when we got to run a show in the email yesterday, I immediately thought that as well. I'm like, wow, DC heavy day. This is awesome. And what better way to start with the DC, slate that we have than with Nightwing. Anything with Bloodhaven is awesome. Anything that you have tied to the noir element with anyone in the Bat family kind of works. But it really works with Nightwing and Dick Grayson because you could tie in kind of like the ninja crime fighter, almost like, I guess just this kind, not spy, but more so like kind of like assassin, right? Kind of like a brooding assassin type. Even though he's not that, you kind of get that type of element with it, like a warrior's type of tale. And
I like the throwback.
I think there's a lot of cool grounded elements as well.
I like the throwback on this cover where they're almost going for a dot matrix look. If you look at like the edges are not quite so clean on the figure itself, and then it's got the dot matrix for shading across his face or whatever. It looks very much like the old style printing. So leaning into that noir a little bit with some dated printing technique, or a faux version of that or whatever is pretty cool.
And I love the title, the Nightwing with the logo in it. That's something they've done before, but like it looks so cool with the red and the white. I love that.
Now with the blue background behind that, when I initially saw that, I was thinking Union Jack, and I was like, what the hell does that have to do
with Nightwing?
Yeah. Paul, any thoughts on this one?
I think I've said this several times, but just the the DC Comics trade dress, the DC Bullet, the bar with the issue number and the price, and then the character in that bar. Super nostalgic for me, because every DC comic I read when I was a kid had that on it, and it's just, yes, please, let's just always do this.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, what do you think, Paul?
I love it, and I like that throwback, like you mentioned, with almost a newspaper print or dot matrix print, because it's both black and white, but then also with the splashes of color. And for me, it's refreshing that it's not another number one.
Right. But they do say loudly and proudly, the crossroads starts here. Yes. So it's letting new readers know this is a place to jump on. And I love it when they put that on the cover, because otherwise, like I said, if you're new, it's really easy to get gatekept by the cover not telling you that it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. An actual number one that's coming up. And this one I put in because Scotty Young and Jorge Corona are two of my favorite creators. This is Lobo number one. It's the first appearance of Mr. KZZT Isaac, an alien television producer. DC likes to do this, right? There's Mr. Mixtapelix or whatever. They love doing that. Yeah, okay. It says, Vroom, the main man's back, baby, and his ride is a motorcycle that moves at the speed of sound, but only if that sound is a ripping guitar solo. And you better hop on before he leaves you in the dust. With all the bastiches, he's fragged for money or convenience. The Eisner-nominated creative team that brought you a fantastic parable of adolescence in the Midwest, the story of an artist who embraces darkness a little too closely, and the tale of a gunslinger with too much grit to stay buried brings you a classic yarn spun in the star-kissed threads of the cosmic DC universe. So Scotty Young, love his work, but Jorge Corona, I personally like. I have met Jorge at New York Comic Con. He's a fantastic guy. I love his artwork. And one of the things that he told me, God, 4 or 5 years ago when he was working on Middle West, was that his art is inspired by gorillas. And so he loved watching the gorillas videos and the gorillas performances. And if you look, you can very much see that in his art. And I think it's a really cool art style that doesn't come out very often in the main titles. And so Jorge Corona working on this makes me want to read it, even though I know nothing about Lobo. I just love the creative team. And I know that Jorge makes it interesting to look at, even if the story is not good, which I think it's going to be.
And one thing I love about Lobo is that in many ways, some heroes have this, some don't. But when you get the aesthetic that you always get that has become iconic with Lobo, you get an element of like sound effects, right? There's a sonic element to go with the aesthetic element. And that's why in the solicit with the whole vroom, like everything about this cover, I can hear in addition to seeing. And that kind of adds to the element of chaos that Lobo is so well known for, because that's what he's all about. He's all about just, he's breaking the mold, anarchy, chaos, and he's very much an anti-hero who will find himself in heroic roles, but in a world of like, scum and villainy, right? That type of little shtick.
The only thing about this cover that I wish he had done is you can see his little, what do they call it? Is it a cryptic? You can see his signature right next to the flagpole there above where it says the main man, but he didn't make it like a flag hanging off the flagpole. And I wish he had, because that would be cool. Is it called a cryptic? Cryptich?
I'm not sure.
It sounds familiar, but it could be just my brain playing. Go ahead, Paul.
When the artist creates something like this, and it's beautiful. I love the artwork. Does he also do his own lettering, or is there somebody that does the lettering? And more specifically, like Lobo, the way it's stylized, does that come from his mind, or does he go, okay, here's the artwork, now you guys write in the different things on the different flags?
Yes.
as well as my logo.
I can take this, or Erik can take this. I've got an answer loaded, but Erik can go.
Go for it. Go for it.
So one of the marks of a great letterer is that they look at the artwork, they look at the script, and they find a way to marry the words and the artwork. They also have to find places to put the balloons that doesn't take away from the art. And sometimes when it's dialogue heavy, it's hard to do. So letterers don't get nearly enough credit. So they have to look at the art first of all and find where to put the bubbles, and then they have to figure out what does each character's voice look like, because they want to make you hear it in your head. And some of the letterers are very, very fantastic at this. Clem Robbins. I can think of man, but names are terrible for me. I can think of 3 or 4 in my head right now that just do a fantastic job at this. So I can guarantee you that inside here, when Lobo is talking, it's a very like heavy metal vibe that you're hearing, off of the page, because they're going to make the bubbles fit. And the bubbles come, in different shapes and things too, that sometimes, they have an outline or they're thicker or whatever. So they do the placement of the bubbles and they do the script for it. Some artists will do both. Some writers will do the lettering after the artist pass. But lettering is one of those unsung arts of comics that really does not get enough credit. And it was very, very recently that they even got added to the cover as a contributor. But most of that is on the letterer, and the letterer is almost always separate from the artist.
But who do you think created specifically? And thank you, because I hadn't even thought about that. What's inside between the pages? Who do you think created this logo of Lobo, or was it
Erik? Do you want to explain logo design?
Oh gosh, because I think the logo was actually designed by the artist on that first Lobo miniseries, which would have been Simon Beasley, I think. But yeah, this is the standard Lobo logo that's been there since the early 90s.
Got it. Okay.
But they do have logo designers.
Have nothing to do with it. It is something that production is putting in after the art is delivered.
And I'm looking at 12 different versions of the Lobo logo. And so they would have had somebody come in and do a revision, because this is different than the logos that we're used to. The filled in centers on the O's are different. Mm-hmm. And they've always made it look like a broken katana for the L. And then blades, you can see how they're sharp for the others. They've always done that since like the early 90s. But it is a little bit more stylized. It does have a little bit of different tweaks. So somebody came in and looked at the classic logo and was paid to design a logo for this. Sometimes they get credit, a lot of times they don't. But the artists themselves that have done the covers, a lot of times will credit the logo designer, because they know that the letterer doesn't get enough credit. The flatter never gets credit. Mm-hmm. When we talk about color artists, there's another guy who comes in and just fills in the fields with the basic colors, and then somebody comes in and touches it up and does the more advanced coloring, and that's the guy who's going to get credit as the colorist. But there's also a flatter there, and sometimes those guys are just working by the hour instead of by the page. So there's, for every comic book that's ever made, there's 100 people working on it, and maybe 4 or 5 get credit.
And that's why like the Marvel room. Right. Or even you could go back to like Disney and animation, right? With like the 9 old men or 9 crazy men, whatever it is. Like, it wasn't until a documentary came out where, unless you were watching behind the scenes features, like way back in the day in like the 90s and 2000s, those kind of became a thing. Right. Like, that's the only way you found out about that. And that's rooted in your childhood. So then you go up beyond Disney, you get into like comic books and stuff like that. And you realize even in the heyday of Marvel with Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, and Ditko, you realize how many people who weren't named those 3 guys were so crucial. And that was the case of Marvel all the way up until really modern times. And DC follows the exact same format, a lot of times with the exact same creators and the exact same writers and artists. So I think that's a great point, Brendan, because that's, I think, maybe my favorite thing about the comic book industry is how many people are involved in just what seems mundane and what seems like just day by day monotony, but it's the most crucial part of the whole process.
Well, unless it's creator owned, that's one of the things that bugs me so much about Mr. RL also is that, like, he takes so much credit, and it's like, dude, the writer had input. I know he did because he's talked about it, and it's like so many times, like, I'm the creator of Deadpool, and it's like, yeah, but you're not solely, and you very much drew, it's derivative of 6 other characters that are very, very recognizable in your work. Anyway, we have a variant for this one, and this one is by Kyo Young Yum. and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's Kyuyong. Last name is Eom. And I thought this is very much the classic that we think of when we think of Lobo. So the difference in art styles or whatever, and that this is not the main, this is the C cover. So this is open order. Anybody can get this. But I like that it is a throwback to the classic or whatever. But if this was the cover and the interior and this was the main cover, I'd be upset because the art doesn't match the cover. And when that happens, it should be the main cover should be by the interior artist to have that continuity between. But I love this cover as a standalone.
It is very much that Simon Beasley style that was Lobo in the 90s. Like this was every trip to the comic book shop was the guy who was super into this look fighting with the guy who was super into Venom.
Yeah.
Who was going to be
going to the comic shop was like in the 90s.
Who was going to be edgier?
It was literally the edgelords, even though we didn't have the term yet, right? Like 100%. Fighting over who was the edgier character, Lobo or Venom. Neither one getting that they were both kind of parodies of that.
Right.
But sometimes that parody would be so dry that they just kind of miss that.
Now, when Paul had hair, I know that he did his makeup in the style of Lobo here. This is very, very classic Paul look. Right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, he could be a little bit more muscular if we're going to compare everything.
The eight pack is not enough for you, Paul?
Fuck no. I'm sorry. No, it's not. Sorry. Sorry, kids. Once an episode is okay. Next Level. Can you tell me a little bit about Next Level? Is that a subdivision of DC, if you will, for lack of a better word? Or
yeah, it's got to be one of their sublines, right, Erik?
Yeah, I mean, because they're always running like 3 or 4 different campaigns and sublines, and like the All In Initiative, which is on the cover of every book, even the Absolute books. Like it's a whole thing. So assume that Next Level is kind of whatever their current marketing strategy is.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Cool. Next up is Superman Unlimited number 11. John Kent becomes Tomorrow Man in this one, and there's also the first appearance of Master, another just TXYZ, I'm not even going to try, who is a fifth dimensional demon who previously made a voice cameo. I don't know, how do they make a voice cameo? They're just off panel when they say something. But it says, the final moments of John Kent. What's worse than a fifth dimensional imp? A fourth dimensional demon. John Kent faces off against his greatest arch enemy, a terrifying time-bending foe who's attacking him years before they've even met. Witness the final moments of John Kent, Superman. Also in this issue, Superboy? No, really? Wait, what? Yeah, you better not miss. What? Who writes this? Call your retailer now. Reserve a copy now. Don't wait. Go call now. They say now like 16 times.
Move. Urgency.
It reminds me of those monster truck commercials, man. Someday.
Or was it the John Cena bit, the Morning Zoo radio bit?
Oh.
Super Slam, which at one point was one of the greatest jokes ever before it jumped the shark because the internet beat it to death. But when that thing first came out, that was one of the most tear-jerking, like side-splitting type of things ever. Because it was true. Because at the time, John Cena really was like not exactly. It wasn't like people weren't viewing him now with the nostalgia element of the with the benefit of hindsight.
Pretty cringe stuff.
It was more so like people couldn't stand anything Cena related, so it was awesome.
That prank phone call is a classic. It's
right, because you're Paul, you're a comedian. Isn't everything they did at the radio, the host, perfect as far as how they set it up?
Oh my God! She's like, quit calling me, and they're just pitching it, oblivious to how upset she is. I love it.
And Brendan's spot on. There were two things in like the 90s, early 2000s. It was monster truck ads, the Sunday. And even though they still have these late night on like infomercial channels, they were really popular on like just mainstream TV. The best of, collective albums, right? Like or different like.
Now that's what I call music.
Now that's what I call music. Time collections, throwback era collections from certain decades or certain
12 CDs for a penny.
Exactly. And they would scroll up and the song that was being played at the moment on the screen was in the yellow, right? And everyone else was white. And then it was with the
that was VH1's original format.
And they're like,
before MTV started doing videos, VH1 was just like a radio channel. It was like Muzak for your living room.
And it's like, oh, exactly. And it's like, order now and you'll get this, this, and this. And it's like general infomercial type of shtick. But at the same time, you get a little bit of every type of song. And sometimes they were just like a quick 1 minute ad. And then now with the infomercial era, with those old like 24/7 channels, you'll have like an hour special where they just loop it. Oh, and it'll be what's his name? Kevin Cronin from like REO Speedwagon.
Well, weren't we talking about Vince Offer earlier?
You got to do, Kevin? Really?
We were talking about Vince Offer earlier. Did you hear he ran for a seat in Texas? Politics, and his name is not Vince Offer. That's his fake name. So they allowed him to use Vince Offer though, but he's mad that he lost, and he's citing the fact that they didn't allow him to put Vince ShamWow Offer on the ballot.
Like that would have made a difference. Now
notoriety is everything.
This brings back memories because when I first got into acting, I signed a deal with RCA, and that was the first deal I ever signed, which was I got 12 albums for a penny, and then I just had to buy another album once a month. So yeah, that was the first deal. Question, and more of a shout out to DC. I love that it's a double first issue.
Yeah, no, and they do that.
It is a double number one. That's correct.
It's a double number one.
Yeah. There you go, Paul. Look who's becoming privy to all this stuff. Trained eye Paul.
One thing that bothers me a lot is that John Kent is looking directly at me, and his eye lasers are going 8 feet over my head.
Ooh, yeah.
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 It's not a mind laser. Maybe does he have mind laser powers?
Right.
Or
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Are they supposed to be beams from the eyes, or is it supposed to be like, is it optical, or is it something that's like psycho or like telekinetic? Right.
Mm-hmm.
I like that you don't buy this. It's not the fact that the kid's flying or all these superhero powers.
It's the beams.
The beams aren't aimed directly at you, but then you wouldn't be able to see anything. So, yeah.
Well, and also the fact that all the things that we know for Kryptonians and the Superman, mythology has been around since like 1938. So at this point, we're used to the flying and the super strength and the heat vision, the ice breath, and everything in between. But when we see something that we haven't seen before, I kind of get it, because I'll be honest, I didn't notice it, but when Brendan mentioned it in like our little comment thread here, now it's definitely what I'm looking at. But outside of that, it's cool.
Yeah, those eyebrows.
Right.
He needs to see my my waxer.
Brow line.
All right, next up is Deathstroke, the Terminator #1. This one has the death of a character called Wintergreen. I don't know who Wintergreen is, but I know Deathstroke. Teen Titans came around. He's the assassin soldier turned superhuman assassin for hire. Slade Wilson, not to be confused with assassin Wade Wilson, has made hundreds of enemies in his day, and now one of them is taking his world apart piece by piece. The hit is out on Deathstroke. That's a reversal of roles. As he evolves into his purest form, a Terminator out for revenge and ready to kill anyone who stands in his way.
So I hate to make this.
Wintergreen is his Alfred.
Gotcha.
The closest analogies. He's basically
Batman would be screwed if Alfred turned on him. So I can see where that could be a problem.
100%. And not to bring up I hate to bring up RL. And when I say that, I actually don't hate to bring up RL at all. I love to bring up RL. Isn't it true that in recent years, he's really almost like in like trigger warning fashion, trying to downplay the Deathstroke inspiration behind it, right? Because for the longest time, everyone said Deadpool was a parody of Deathstroke. But now apparently, like when you bring that up, he gets not necessarily offended, but he pushes back hard because he tries.
Well, he does.
He tries to minimalize the fact that Deadpool is original, or like, somewhat like inspired by his
when
own
he pitched
ideas,
it.
It's clearly some type of composite.
When he pitched it to the writer, and I can't think of the writer's name right now.
Fabian Nicieza.
Oh yeah, it's Fabian Nicieza, right? Nicieza was like, "This is Deathstroke." He said that to him.
Paul,
and that's the thing, is like it's Spider-Man, Deathstroke, Batman. Like there's lots of stuff that's thrown in there, but Slade Wilson, Wade Wilson. Come on, man. A masked character
100%.
whose superpower is guns, and right, it's like
mercenary shit. The outfits look different enough, but they're similar in concept. And speaking of concepts, like Paul, for the love of God, if you have a banger like that in the comments, just say it out loud. Like, this is why you're the comedian. You're not a stand-up comedian because you type stuff. You're a stand-up comedian because you say it.
But that's a little blue.
Well, that's what that is. No,
that's a little blue balls. You're right.
It's both. It's very blue in terms of brand of comedy, and it's also what Paul just referred to. But I'm just saying, maybe if it were a Patreon, you definitely got to throw that one out there. But well said, sir. But ultimately, I think this is cool, and I like that Erik clarified exactly who wintergreen is. It gives a little bit more insight into what Slade Wilson's all about.
And this is a very cool cover.
It's a very cool cover, and like, you know, quite frankly, as blue as Paul's jokes may be, I mean, we're talking about Deathstroke here, who is an absolute just scum of the earth type of character anyway. And I'm not talking about because he just kills people. There's a lot of people in comics who kill people. No, he goes far worse if you actually know the backstory of Slade Wilson and even the deeply rooted storylines with the Teen Titans. So yeah, a bit of a creep, bit of a you know.
Is he what you would call an anti-hero?
No, yeah, a little bit worse than that. Yeah, a little bit of a stain. Let's have a certain type. Let's just say that. Again, I don't want to make it too blue either myself, but a little bit of a stain.
Let's call him an anti-villain.
Yeah, right. Even villains.
An anti-villain.
Oh, that tracks. Actually, that's really good. I'm gonna steal that.
Well, it's almost like Con Air, as rough of a movie as that is. It's the John Malkovich line, what he says about, you know, like with Danny Trejo, he's all like, you know, I view rape. How about I view rapists is like 2 steps below that dried white stuff you get in the corner of your mouth. That's what villains view Slade Wilson as, because I mean, not even to minimize it, like he very much is exactly what I just said. He, you know, he does those type of things, and he's that kind of character. It's not just more villainy and, you know, trying to benefit because you're the villain and you think you're doing right. He's actually just a bad person, to where other villains are all like, what the hell's this guy's deal?
Nice. All right, next up is the Sentry #1. This, I believe, is really tying into what's the new Avengers movie? What's it called? Thunderbolts, right?
Yeah.
So the Sentry is one of those characters that like everybody knows exists, but there wasn't, you know, like a real definition, I think, of the character. It's a really cool concept, I think, but I don't think anybody's really cared about the Sentry until he got fleshed out. And I didn't care about the Sentry till I saw him in that film, and I was like, oh, this actually has some potential.
100%.
It says he's been an Avenger, a Dark Avenger, and a Thunderbolt. The Sentry is back, but so is the Void, and there's the kicker. From creator Paul Jenkins comes a bold, high-stakes epic about Marvel's most dangerous hero, the Sentry. A man with the power of 1 million exploding suns and the dark entity born from his own psyche, the Void. When the Void resurfaces, threatening to unravel reality itself, the Sentry must battle not only cosmic forces and criminal empires, but the monster within. This is 100% the dichotomy that we have with Spider-Man, with Batman, with all the stuff or whatever, but it's just dialed up 1,000%. I think it's a great concept. I really hope that this is a good take and that we're able to get some good Sentry content coming out of this and expand this from, you know, the 6 issues that they probably bought it for or like scheduled it for, and moves into something larger and more you know, spanning across the Marvel universe, because I think there's a lot of potential here.
No doubt. Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
And also hopefully Jenkins will, you know, really dial into the thing that makes this character cool, which is his greatest foe is his own depression.
Bingo.
That is the greatest thing about the Sentry.
And that is the greatest thing about what they brought him, or what they did by bringing him to life in live action, Eric, because I love that you say that. The biggest issue, not even issue, the biggest fear and point of apprehension I had going into Thunderbolts was, could they properly deal with the Void? Not only did they properly deal with it, they made it the villain that must be overcome in the movie. That's the pivotal plot point in the 3rd act. And they do it in pretty much the only way imaginable, because you're not going to defeat him. In fact, he downright kicks their ass, but it's ultimately him and his own eternal conflict, like you guys just alluded to, and the support of them around him in that battle while going through their own personal battles. That's what made Thunderbolts really work as a movie. As far as Marvel superhero comic book action set pieces, it was a little lower tier. As far as actual screenplay, that it was one of their best screenplays I think they've ever done, because of the way they handled Sentry, and obviously Lewis Pullman was fabulous in the role. But Sentry is such a brilliant take, like Brennan, you said, with handling that. And it's finally now kind of out there to where people realize, because before he was kind of shrouded.
I love that they always handle him with care, because once they figure out what his disability, as it were, is, that he's crippled by his anxiety and by his depression, and he's got the TBI, he's got the short-term memory or whatever. Once they figure that out, they handle him so delicately to make sure that none of those things become a weakness. They protect those parts of him that he can't protect himself. And I think that's a really important perspective. That's a really important like take on the character, is that without the people around him, terrible things happen, because he needs that care and they give it to him.
And that's why the next movie, like moving forward to comic book storylines, it works always, because you have so many Marvel characters out there, and him having a role in the next big crossover movie, the Avengers Doomsday movie, you have to wonder how that'll happen. Like work into the play of things because he's the best chance they have against any villain. He's essentially the Marvel version of Superman in terms of like the power set, if you will, right?
But he's like Superman and Batman mashed together because there are storylines where Batman's darkness takes over, but there's no like physical embodiment of it. The fact that he has to like physically battle his depression, his albatross is a very interesting take.
100%. It's almost like if a guy who had all the power and is essentially God tier, what's the one thing that could hold him back? Well, of course it would be himself. So it works perfectly.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this, Paul? You're muted, boy.
No. Oh, he does.
He has thoughts, but it's going to take him a second to figure out the tech.
Right. There's no audio.
I was about to brag how great I am at the tech when you guys were talking about that. And now I'm like, I lost my Chrome web browser. I couldn't find it. No, because I didn't know much about this, and I have not seen Thundercats. What you guys were just talking about. I mean, what's it called? Thunderbolts.
There you go.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I actually almost snuck into their big thing in Hollywood because it was right there, right in Hollywood, and I was overlooking it because we were at Dave and Buster's doing some comedy or something, and if you just look down, all the they had the big reveal.
Like, oh, there's David Harbour. Let's go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, it just seems so easy, and the thing is, we were busy, we couldn't get down. I think one of my friends managed to like just sneak down there and hang out at their big thing in Hollywood, but I'm not familiar with it, so I'm really enjoying this, and I love the cover. I mean, that's
there's so many things about the film that are so heartwarming that the thing is that Red Guardian is such a proud papa, but he's also a flawed father figure. Yeah. And there's so many things, so many redemption arcs in it or whatever. Like, I feel like this was my favorite Marvel movie that's come out in the last several years.
I'm with you.
Because it was so human.
Yeah. I think, and that's a perfect way to phrase it. And Brendan, I think the two best movies that they have done, at least since the last phase wrapped or the last saga wrapped up with Endgame, I think the two best they have done as far as the screenplays are concerned are Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Thunderbolts, because it's literally about the characters. All the other movies are more about action and storyline and crazy multiverse shock value and fan service even, and some of them are brilliant in doing so. But Thunderbolts and Guardians 3 were about the characters, and that's why they felt ultimately very personal compared to the other ones.
I love the pride in Red Guardian when he's like, you named your team after your soccer, or like you named your superhero team after your soccer league team from when you were a kid, and just like the glow. He's like, they never scored a single goal. Like, and he's telling the stories or whatever. And like the embarrassing, like, yes, there's your embarrassing father who's ridiculously proud of you and is just going to support you for like, it's
beaming.
As a parent, like those moments are like, yeah, that happens, where you're just like, oh yeah, totally. And you're going to embarrass your kids or whatever, but like just the genuine joy that he has in that film is great.
Yeah. Well, it's a great movie.
It sounds like they're also addressing issues that might not always be addressed, such as
absolutely.
Things like that. So I
trauma, childhood,
alcoholism.
Yep.
Yeah.
Basically just dealing with your past.
Yeah, it's of the recent Marvel movies, Paul, it's the one you should spend time with, I think.
Yeah, it's streaming right now on Disney, man. You should go watch it.
And it also, if you do actually want to watch anything they're doing moving forward, it proves to be crucial in the end, in the grand scheme of things. You just have to play it out to see, or wait it out to see how it all plays out. But ultimately, the movie is a very personal, intimate look at the characters. Where also by the end of it, you're all like, "Oh, this is going to set the stage for everything to come." So
another thing that's interesting about it is I don't know where I'm at in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I have no idea.
Right.
But without seeing all the last ones, or without recently seeing them, or whatever, I feel like the Thunderbolts you could go into with just minimal knowledge of the MCU 100%. And be able to track everything that's happening.
Just about.
That's true.
Yeah, cool. All right. Next up, we have G.I. Joe number 20. This one's on here because it's right there on the cover. There's a first meeting between Duke and Optimus Prime, who are two of the major characters in both of their franchises. But because the Energon universe is now Transformers and G.I. Joe, the solicit is short and sweet. I love it. Optimus Prime and Duke meet for the first time. What does this mean for the future of the Energon universe? And that's all you need to know. Neither one of these is super intellectual property. It's not one of the things you super need to think about. It's big giant robots who fight crime and, superhero militarized ex Green Forces guys who fight crime. I mean, it's just
you only need so much exposition for stuff like this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of bang bang, and in this one, the guys who throw the bang bangs get to meet the guys who have the fist lasers, and it is what it is.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's
I'll be honest though.
Yeah,
I like Optimus Prime a hell of a lot more than I like Duke.
Okay.
I've never
maybe he squashes him with his 10-ton foot. You don't know.
And I don't know what it is. Just like Duke is a completely decent dude, but as soon as they introduced Flint on the old cartoon, I was all about Flint.
It's the blonde hair. You can't trust blonde-haired dudes with flat tops.
Yeah. Pop culture has shown us that time and time again.
The bad guy in Karate Kid is a blonde kid, right?
Yeah,
like
Johnny Lawrence, yeah.
They're never up to need the bad guy in Harry Potter is a blonde kid. I mean, that's typecast at this point.
Well, I'll say this: that's why Glenn Powell is such a hot commodity, because he could play a good guy and a bad guy, but he always works as a guy who you're kind of has like the douchebaggery feel, but if he had brown hair, it wouldn't give that vibe. It's because
what's the actor?
And I love Glenn Powell. Oh.
What's the actor who? It's Kevin Kline, right? In serious roles, he's clean shaven. In comedy, no, in serious roles, he's got a mustache. In comedies, he's clean shaven.
Yeah, exactly.
So he gives you a visual cue of what he's playing up, and it's like, dude, if you have to tell people,
like with your physical facial hair, right? No,
I want your Academy Awards back, because that's kind of cheating.
Lethal Weapon was that Gary Busey? Am I confusing?
No, that's point.
100% right. That is Gary.
Yeah.
Busey.
Oh my God! And Jake Busey is a crazy villain in everything.
Yeah,
and he's a blonde kid.
Yeah, I forget because Gary Busey is Point Break is the one where he's actually a good guy, but Lethal Weapon, exactly, he falls into the stereotype.
Is he though? On rewatch, is he a good guy?
Well, a hero.
That movie came out a long time ago.
He's in the camp of the hero, I guess you could say. He's in the corner of Johnny. So, all
right,
that's a good question, though. It's a good question. Morally
next one up is
Gary Busey.
Dead Teenagers #1, and this one's by another creative team that I really enjoy.
Oh shit!
It's Oni Press. It's Jude S. Ellison Doyle and Caitlin Yarsky. Let's see. Can you see my Caitlin Yarsky from there? This is a Caitlin Yarsky original page from Coyotes. I love Caitlin Yarsky. She does horror so well. It's so visceral. Like, she just brings it to the page.
That's why you may have just heard me, but that explicit. I try to back away from the mic a little bit, but that's exactly what this is. This is visceral. Yeah. This is really the first time I'm actually kind of soaking it in.
It says there's no escaping high school. Since 1997, 5 friends have been trapped in the ultimate nightmare as a mysterious entity forces them to relive their first prom night over and over again and re-kills them in new and increasingly insane ways each time. They dress up, they party, they make out, and no matter what they try to change, they always die. Until now. Something's about to break the cycle that's kept Alicia, JT, Ryder, Brandy, and their group of friends locked in a bizarre purgatory beyond all understanding. But what they find on the other side will be the most disturbing revelation of all.
And see, comics like this are so necessary for this segment, because that way people who are watching and listening don't always just think it's This Week in Superheroes, because a lot of times it is, because that's the emphasis of it, just by sheer volume and how many titles are released by DC and Marvel. But these titles often show in this segment where a lot of these artists and specialists truly thrive, because they're trying to tell stories. They're not necessarily buying into an entertainment medium that always exists and trying to continue it, right? Mm-hmm. Rinse, wash, repeat, like sometimes superheroes are. It gets very cookie cutter in the cartoons and the movies and the comics themselves. But for this feels very original, right? And anything in the world of entertainment, we want originality. We want in our screenplays, our TV shows, everything else. And this provides exactly that. And like Brendan, you said, the artists clearly know what they're doing here. The creators in general.
In fact, one of our writers at Comic-Con, Rachel Belwar, interviewed the creative team last week. So
Rachel's always good for an interview. I love seeing that there's 15 Rachel interviews, because I know that our week for interviews is going to be set because Rachel gets in there.
Yeah. And I mean, she puts so much effort into everything and just asks really great questions too. So just look up Talking Dead Teenagers with Jude Ellison, S. Doyle, and Caitlin Yarsky on Comic-Con, and you'll have a
and they are both delightful, by the way.
A really nice preview of the book too. They do a really good job of setting up what it is. It's really compelling.
I have met both of them at conventions, and they are delightful people to talk to and to talk about their art, to talk about what they do. They are really just fun, and they are dialed into this genre specifically. It's very, very good.
This really, hits home, or I can relate to. Somebody else who graduated in the 90s, going to prom in the 90s, whatnot. So, that shout out to dead teenagers.
Now, something that I didn't realize until looking at this again, which means that it's probably not completely obvious, but then when you look at it, you can't unsee it. Look at the shape of the negative space that they're peeking through. That's a Reaper hood with a side.
Oh, that's the first thing. That's the first thing I actually know. I'm not even just trying to like pat myself.
I didn't see it till a minute ago. 100%. I saw like curtains parting, and then I looked at it. I was like, "Oh, it's the Reaper!" Like that's a cool thing.
When I went like this, was like, "Oh, bleep." That's what I noticed, because the first thing I noticed was the the Sith, but then I noticed the actual hood. I'm like, "Wow." Yeah.
Well, Brendan, I hope that you're happy with the eye placement on this one, and the way the light is hopefully shining to your liking.
Well, it does. I mean, my astigmatism makes every light look like that. So Christmas lights are way more magical. But yeah, no, that's a really cool. And then there's a variant for this one that's done by Caitlin. Actually, it looks like she did the original too, but this is very much showing you like the era, because this is a play off of. This is the Pretty Woman poster.
Pretty Woman. That's definitely Pretty Woman. 100%.
Yeah, with the title going down the side like that, and the pose and everything, right? But then with the addition of that tentacle coming through the side is fantastic.
It's great.
Nice. All right. And the last one for this week is Batwoman #1. Another DC title. This has the first appearance of Slay, who is a member of the Monks of Stone. It says Batwoman, daughter, sister, soldier, hero, tinker, tailor, spy. It doesn't say that last part. But since she was 10 years old, Kate Kane has lived in the shadow of a prophecy and the machinations of a religion devoted to the end of all things. How do you fight the devil when the devil is real? And how do you win?
Wow, I don't know that they're coming back to the Bible of crime.
I don't know that it needed that hip toss on this cover, but it's a very dynamic cover. We're going back to the the trash polka palette. It's a little bit more red than usual, but the black and white leans into the noir, which is the origins of Batman. It's a very, very cool cover. But like I said, that hip way thrust off to the side is a little bit distracting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. The posing and like the actual placement of the character is a little off in terms of like it's a little jarring, but the actual presentation of the colors, of the noir element, of the gothic Gotham element, that always Batman kind of taps into, at least when done right. Anything related to that, that canon, I guess you could say, they know what they're doing visually, and at least they fall into that motif here.
Yeah. And specifically with Kate, I always love that she's kind of drawn like a Nagel print a lot of the time. And that just, you put that Nagel print thing in the Gotham milieu, and it's like, it's a really nice contrast.
100%.
You just used a lot of words that Paul does not understand.
Yeah, motif, milieu, like, man, we're killing it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Pretty lady.
Pretty lady, like it.
I like,
sexy.
Now, that term that you used, I'm actually not familiar with either. What was it? Nickel print?
Nagel print.
Nagel print. So is that using 4 layers of color just on top of each other with stamps?
No, that's the artist that did all those like arch kind of 1980s fashion style stuff.
Okay. Because I see that with the negative space of her hair, but it almost looks like a woodcut, like a 4-piece woodcut where they put the black down, then they put the gray down, then they put the white down, then they put the red down. Right, it almost looks that way too.
It was very angular, like you said, very 80s, 90s. The models with the lipstick and the severe shoulder pads.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
The cover of Duran Duran's Rio.
And like, is her cape always like a stole and not like a full cape?
An episode of Murphy Brown, basically that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. No,
you said Murphy Brown, and now I see it.
This just may be for effect.
Yeah, I think so. That's more so for the pop, for the cover. Yeah. Because I think if you see right within the page of the comic, it's probably more standard.
And is she not purple?
No, she's always been red.
Yeah, because
her hair was red, but I think that wasn't Batgirl at some point purple.
That's Batgirl.
Oh, I got you. So who is this redhead if that's not Barbara Gordon?
This is Kate Kane.
This is Kate. Yeah. And there's been a few Batwomen, but she's been the one with the most traction through like various adaptations.
So there's a whole like gaggle of redheads in Gotham, is what you're telling me.
Oh, I mean, shit, pretty much. I mean, probably more blondes, but still, you have Poison Ivy, you have her. There's enough,
Bruce Wayne's Rolodex is just full of every redhead in town.
I mean, it's full of every woman in town. Period.
Yeah.
Knowing that, man.
For the good of the mission. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. No matter what the hair color is, if need be. Right.
Yeah,
Going back to the solicit for a moment, the prophecy thing is a reference to the story that they were running in 52 about Kate.
Oh wow!
And I was genuinely shocked. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they're coming back to this idea. And of course they are, because it's Greg Rucka writing. And Greg Rucka wrote that original Batwoman story in 52.
And isn't that where Kate got going? I mean, she may have been introduced
that was like
52, but that was
kind of
coming at
that debut was in 52. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Awesome. I love it. I think it's cool. I love how it was, like I said, we tapped into some other stuff, but it was a DC heavy day on the slate, which is great because, if anything, if this was an episode that Steve was around for, he probably would have been able to decompress and, breathe a little bit because there's no Mga today, but lo and behold, there will be on future episodes. And Paul, this is where, no, it's fine.
I'm clickety clacking because I had somebody else ask me a question right now that needs to be addressed right now. So excuse me.
Brennan's neck deep, but while Brennan's neck deep, I mean, would this be the time for Paul to, do his thing?
It might be.
I'd love to. Yeah. I mean, Brendan's busy, obviously.
Yeah, and Paul, you haven't. Yeah, I mean, usually in these episodes where Steve's out, you let your hands go a little bit. So let's let him go here. Come on.
All right, I'm back.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, Paul. Never mind.
Thanks.
Yeah, Paul, go ahead and do your 30-second self-promo nonsense. Go.
Oh, wonderful. Well, it's not nonsense because I'm promoting all these amazing things, paulvato.com, where you can just go right there and get all the information of what I'm up to. I'm promoting a big show in Hollywood, which I hope Brendan can, well, is he already gone? I hope you guys can make it out. That's going to be...
No way, the McRib's back.
Guys, I'm trying to promote my show April 3rd.
I forgot to talk about Innings Festival. Damn.
Guys, your mics are still on. I'm trying to promote.
It's finally back.
Listen.
Have you ever bitten into a peat and had the juices dripping down your chin?
April 3rd, Friday. I hope you guys can make it out. It's going to be a lot.
Never mind. False alarm, everybody. It's not back. Fake news.
I think I'm washing my hair on April 3rd.
So you guys can hear me, right?
No.
Let's go to paulvato.com and get all the information on this amazing comedy show. You're all invited. It's going to be a ton of fun.